Hey there, I'm Gordon, and you're watching How to with 240. Today we're going to talk about Wi-Fi, internet speed, and routers. Okay, the first place to start, I guess, is at the router. Okay, your router is the main thing. Your internet first comes into the house, it hits your router, and from there it says, okay, your router gives out IP addresses to everything in your house, and it assigns traffic. Okay, your Wi-Fi is a off branch of your router. It also gets its IP addresses for everything in the house through the router. Okay, so where to start? Where to start? Okay, speeds, router speeds. So your internet coming into your house. Let's say your internet coming into your house is, let's take Xfinity's main thing. I think it's like 70 meg by 10 meg. I think. So 70 meg down, 10 meg up. Or if you go with their gig service, it's 1,000 meg down by 20 meg up is per second is what their service is. I actually work for an independent internet company, and our speeds are 100 by 100, 250 by 250, 500 by 500, and 1 gig by 1 gig, a true 1 gig service. So when you're sitting at that router and you plug in a laptop, and it's got to be a pretty new computer to actually handle a gig. So we're going to use a gig for example. Okay, so if you plug a laptop or your computer into that router plugged in, you're going to probably get the services up to a gig. So you're probably going to get around 900, maybe a gig around there somewhere, up and down at our service. Okay, can't say that about anybody else because I don't know. But so that is plugged in. And so all your devices around the house, if they're plugged in and they're on a gig network system, all wired right and everything, they should get a gig and accessible. Like I said, my phone, it's a Note 8. It's old. It only gets about 370 meg per second. This is as fast as it'll do on 5G. But anyway, on Wi-Fi, okay, so let's take example, our router at work, it produces Wi-Fi. It produces a 2.4 signal and a 5G signal. Okay, let me explain these two things from you. 2.4 will go farther, but it's slower. And it can get interference from other 2.4 hertz equipment. Microwaves, refrigerators, all kinds of stuff can interfere with it. The 5G goes faster, but doesn't reach as far. And it doesn't get nowhere near the interference. So, an example of this, when a trouble that you might have is, let's say you're sitting in your house right next to your router, and your phone's on, and you're doing whatever on your phone, just streaming along, doing great, and then you go outside, and you still have signal, but your signal is really not, you're not getting very good speeds. That is because your phone is probably still on 5G, just barely getting a signal, so it's still stuck on 5G network. But if you turn off your Wi-Fi on your phone and just turn it right back on, it'll grab the stronger signal, and you'll probably have a better result. So in that, I want to talk about Wi-Fi. That's what we're here to talk about, Wi-Fi. So we have access points, which are these. These are repeaters or extenders. They basically take your Wi-Fi signal that your router's producing, they grab it and they push it off, around the rest of the house. They extend the Wi-Fi signal. The biggest problem we see with this is, let's take this picture right here for example. Let's make me a little smaller here. Let's say you are over here on, let's say your router is sitting over here on this side of the house, right? Okay, right here. And you want to get signal way over here. You don't put the extender over here. You put the extender in the middle, over in here somewhere, where it actually gets a good signal from the router. If you put it too far away from the router, it is just going to repeat a bad signal. Sure, back here in the back of the house, it says, yeah, I got full service. But it's got full service of, frankly, shit. It's bad signal, so you're not getting it. So put that extender halfway and in a spot where you got good service. The best way to test that is take your phone in there look at the service, get a speed test, go to fast.com. That is Netflix's server. They will give you a true reading of your speed. Okay, now if, let's say you have it down here in this room, and to get over to here, it's got to go through mirrors, ceramic tile, backsplash, metal for some reason. Wi-Fi will not travel through that stuff very good. So try to avoid stuff with tile floor, any rock, like on a mantle on a fireplace or something. It will not travel through that very good. Mirrors, not very good. Anyway, okay, so let's go back to something else now. Oh, here's some speed stuff. So this here is, these are all extenders. This looking thing is an access point. An access point has an actual Cat5 wire that goes from the router to the access point, and it has a much better signal to broadcast, but it has to be wired. That's an access point. They also have access points that can be clients to transport signal to another device over here, like to a barn or something, and then it can disperse out. So that is Wi-Fi in a nutshell. The biggest thing I can say about Wi-Fi and speed is, so you have 100 meg by 100 meg service at your house. Getting an upgrade to a gig or 500 meg is not going to make the signal strength go any farther. It is not going to make the signal of the Wi-Fi, if you have extenders or routers, just the router, whatever, it's not going to make that go any farther. It will boost the speed. What I mean by that is if you're sitting right by the router and you're getting 100 meg right there at the router, okay, and you go out to the middle of that house we were talking about, you go to the middle of that house and you're getting, let's say, 40 meg. Okay, if you boost that to a 500 meg system, excuse me, you boost that to a 500 meg system at the router, now you're getting 500 meg, but out there at that same spot in the house, instead of getting 40, you're probably getting 200 meg because of the drop of just the signal losing credit, losing speed as the farther it goes out. But I can't explain this hard enough to you guys that the signal does not get any stronger, but it does get faster when you up the speed of your service at your house. Extenders and amplifiers, access points are all great things, but for the most part, like where I work, a standard 2,000 square foot house, our single router will cover that whole house and outside the house. Routers are very important. A very good, not a cheap, free router. Get a very good $120, $170 router that can handle all of the Wi-Fi stuff that is out in the world today. The free routers that you might get from your provider, or a $40 router, that a Belkin or something, those are good for a small little room that doesn't have a lot of Wi-Fi stuff connecting to it. But if you got a house full of 5 people, 5 people that live in the house, and they have friends over, that means there's at least 10 or 12 just phones trying to grab an IP address, along with tablets, stereo systems, all of this stuff trying to grab an IP address, and those smaller routers only got one CPU in them, and they cannot keep up. If you get one with the newer ones have multiple or even more CPUs in them to handle all that traffic, to keep stuff moving. So Wi-Fi, if you guys got any questions, ask me on comments. But Wi-Fi is a great thing, but it has its limits. If you can hardwire stuff, hardwire it, like anything to your TV. Let me explain one thing about TVs and streaming services. You plug a Roku or Amazon Fire Stick in the back of your TV through a USB plug, right? When you turn that TV off, the power to that usually turns off, okay? But if you plug that Roku or Amazon Fire Stick directly into a 110 outlet in the wall, it's on all the time, right? It's on, okay? But if on that remote you do not hit the home button when you're done watching, that thing will keep streaming. Even though you turn the TV off, if it's got power, it's still streaming and using up bandwidth. So if you're on DSL somewhere and you're having problems with your Wi-Fi, circling, make sure that you're hitting, when you turn your TV off, make sure this box, Fire Sticks or Rokus are turning off completely. And if not, make sure you hit that home button to get out of the streaming mode, because they will just keep streaming. And after 6 hours or so, they'll say, hey, you're still on. Or a lot of people might turn that off if they're just sitting there watching show after show after show, episode after episode after episode, they turn that off. So hit that home button. All right, gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen, kids, whoever's watching, have a great day.